Hello, friends. Happy holiday eve. Welcome in. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. Johnny Venerable, Brack, perfect season for giving. We love to give takes. We love to give merch. Check us out. GoPHNX.com. We've got our Black Friday sale at the merchandise locker. Talk more about that as the show progresses. Become a diehard, 20% off, free shipping, all the good stuff. We've got the goods today, Brack. As it relates to this team, you were out at the practice field, and I think perfect place to start. I wore my black t-shirt, back in black for the Redbirds. You love to see it.
That's right. For the second time this season. I think the last time they get to wear them this season, the black alternate uniforms, black helmet, black uniform, murdered out combination this weekend for Kyler Murray and crew. He told me today in the press conference, it's his favorite combo. It was his favorite combo even before, once they rolled out the black helmets last season. And he's a big fan of it. He's Bruce Wayne in the Batmobile asking if it comes in black to Morgan Freeman's character.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to talk about that duo of Kyler Murray and Hollywood Brown really over the course of the next 6 weeks, and very relevant now as we look ahead to this Sunday, but we also look ahead to this offseason. We're going to talk about some potential cap casualties that could make things difficult for Monty Ossenford this offseason. I do want to start today as we talk about the combination back in black for Hollywood Brown and Kyler Murray. Hollywood Brown is topic of discussion for the lack of his production. I think fairly, unfairly, it's a slow news week. And a piece came out from Bob McManaman at Arizona Sports, or Arizona Republic, I should say. Yeah. Your media peer basically said we talked to Hollywood Brown, and Hollywood Brown wants to come back, and quote unquote, they've had positive talks with the Cardinals about doing so. And I'm not going to say that, that's not accurate, but I do think that, go read the article for yourself. It's a really good article put together by Bob. I feel like right now they're in the middle of the season and the production's not there. And I think a lot of this is left up to interpretation. Bo, am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. I think that there's still a long way to go, from Hollywood Brown. I mean, this is a quote from the source, right? As far as the wide receiver himself, that he feels like communication is good between him and the organization, and it's a place that he wants to be. And I feel like he's communicated that already. But this is a conversation that Hollywood Brown had. He was hyping up at the time, taking questions mostly regarding Kyler Murray's return to the playing field. This is when this conversation happened. And since then we've had two pretty unproductive performances from Hollywood Brown. And I think, we knew that Hollywood Brown was a player that was coveted by some teams around the league around the trade deadline, right? Yeah. And the Arizona Cardinals, they took the phone calls, but they never really entertained it. They were never going to entertain trading Hollywood Brown. I mean, this is to the most extent was they got a call. They didn't know what it was about. Said, hey, I want Hollywood Brown. They said, we're keeping Hollywood Brown for the most part. I'm paraphrasing, completely speculating for the most part. But from what you have sourced, Johnny, is they wanted to see how Hollywood Brown looked in a contract year with his franchise quarterback in this offense. And they wanted to see it, play out on grass. And I don't think it's even come close to what they envisioned so far. But a long way to go. But to sit here and say, hey, it's almost a slam dunk, they're at the goal line as far as negotiations, I think that's a bit that's pretty far from the truth.
Yeah, I think it's tough because Cardinal fans, so often we have, I want to say like low self-esteem, but like we want players that want to be here, right? We want players that are bought in. We like Hollywood Brown, the person. We liked, I think, for the most part, the acquisition. I know you and I did doing our live draft show 2 years ago. Like, that's a nice move for the Cardinals. It just hasn't produced in terms of the on-the-field production that warranted a first-round pick. But when you hear Hollywood Brown quote in the article from McManaman say, I want to be in Arizona, the feel from it is they want me here. I leave that to my agent. He did say that the agent and Ossenford have had good conversations. Like, what does that look like? Because, I've got a piece dropping Friday, Johnny on the spot here at PHNX Sports on YouTube. Like, the Cardinals will bring back Hollywood Brown at their price on their demands, their terms, guaranteed money. You want Hollywood Brown on your team. Absolutely. We've been talking about that at nauseum for 2 weeks. You're going to pay Hollywood Brown $20 million to put up 700 yards. And I'm probably short. I definitely am shortchanging him because of the fact Kyler Murray has not played this year. Like, you have to grade a little bit on the curve. And you've seen that with Joshua Dobbs overthrowing him. But, like, he needs 600 yards over the next 6 games. He needs to average about 100 yards per game to hit the century mark this year. I'm going to tell you right now, look around the NFL. There are quarterbacks and receiver combos that are, I think, on par with what Hollywood has had to deal with that are going to go over 1,000 yards. Like, Mike Evans has been going over 1,000. That's a number one receiver, going over 1,000 yards every year with, Jameis and, of course, now Baker Mayfield. I mean, like, not everybody is Zach Wilson. It's just typically, if you're a number one receiver, you put up the numbers. We used the explanation in the example yesterday. Larry Fitzgerald got those numbers.
Yeah.
Get it? Like, it's unfair to say, well, Hollywood Brown needs to be in that. You traded a first-round pick for him. That's the category then you had an assumption of if you were Steve Keim, and now Monty Ossenford has to make what I think is going to be a very difficult and potentially unpopular decision, because I see a lot of this on Twitter. Well, you got to get Marvin Harrison Jr. to go with Hollywood Brown and Michael Wilson. Well, who's playing, like you mentioned, who's playing slot in that scenario? Marvin Harrison Jr. sure the fuck ain't playing slot. and Michael Wilson's an outside receiver. You're
Right.
Put Brown in the slot for the first time in his career. You're going to pay $20 million for a slot receiver. Like, this isn't fantasy football. At the end of the day, it's like, you have a receiver on your roster right now who is well-liked, who's a good player, but at the same time, the numbers are what the numbers are. This is a production business. This is not an Ossenford, more than anything. A very shrewd negotiator, can come off as very light and personable because he is a good guy. But we saw those draft highlights behind the scenes. You think this guy is going to be taken to town on a contract for Hollywood Brown? Of course not. If I had to guess right now, and again, we're having this conversation in November. We're going to have it 10 more times up until March. I think the Cardinals go to Hollywood Brown and say, here's a 1 to 2 year deal, very little guaranteed money. And he will know that, okay, I can take this. I can prove myself. But think about that. If he takes a prove it deal, he's 1 year older, hitting the free agency market next year. He's not going to try to hit the free agency market again when he's 30. I think this is much to do about nothing. He could change the narrative over the next 6 weeks. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I think this is what the Cardinals got in 2023 from Hollywood Brown.
I mean, maybe we could start to look at teams that would view Hollywood Brown as valuable on the free agent market, because I think like D-Hop last year, you anticipate a market, right? And then the floor collapses from beneath him, right? And we'll see, who could be some potential fits here. But, I'm looking at this. I think you posted on Twitter earlier this week, and I nearly vomited when I saw the production or lack thereof from their receiving game this year. Like, you got guys, Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown is leading the team with 486 yards receiving this season. Trey McBride behind him at 461, and then Michael Wilson at 435. And he's played in, 2 less games and likely to be 3 less games come this week, because Michael Wilson wasn't back out there on the practice field again today.
Look at the targets on that too.
The targets that's the most eye-popping thing. As far as opportunity, Hollywood Brown's gotten quite a bit out of it. And one's going to command have to be negotiated with, while another guy's locked in as a 3rd round pick in Michael Wilson. So if he's not showing any like above average production to merit the deal, what's the point of giving him a deal? What is the point of giving him the deal? Like, I just don't at this juncture. I think it's a wait and see, and then you got to start to weigh the options as far as what's he worth? What's he worth as far as what he's produced so far? Because it's not sample sized any longer.
No,
it's great that he wants to be here, and it's great that the organization. I know Jonathan Gannon really views Hollywood Brown as somebody that can cause a conflict for an opposing defense as far as what he brings. But as far as what he's consistently producing, that's what's going to be evaluated come free agency. And I don't anticipate a deal happening between now and then either. Like,
no.
That's why I think it's a little misleading to say, hey, like, this is where they are. You're right. I mean, 86 targets for 486 yards. That doesn't that doesn't scream to me, hey, you need to be making $20 million a season.
It's going to be 27 next year. These are his prime earning years the next 3 years. We've seen what happened to players, especially players that are overly reliant on speed. He is not a possession receiver. He is not he's a receiver that needs his separation, right? It's not a Keenan Allen-esque type of player that I think is going to age well, respectfully, Hollywood Brown into his 30s. So if you're Hollywood Brown and you're his agent, and there are going to be teams that maybe potentially view him in a better, standing for their offense than the Cardinals, he is going to explore more money elsewhere. Like this is all well and good right now, and you want good vibes, and there's good vibes despite the loss last weekend around this team. We sat on the postgame show at BetMGM last weekend. Just, where is Hollywood Brown at? You cannot turn around. This article just seems really untimely, given the fact that Hollywood Brown has been so ineffective I don't care if you're open and we're not getting you the football. Like, you have to force the issue as the number one receiver.
Yeah.
Like that's the NFL. This isn't high school football where like I could be a Division I prospect and I got Johnny Venerable trying to throw me the football. It's like this is the NFL. Guys who are elite get open, produce, score touchdowns.
Yeah.
He has 0 100-yard games this year, guys. He hasn't eclipsed 50 yards. 50 yards since week 5. I mean, think about
50 yards in the last 2 weeks combined, and he's got 9 targets.
And we're talking about
this isn't pile on Hollywood time either, but
no,
it's I think that and obviously as far as football goes, there's a story that can be told beyond the numbers. And look, I there's only one direction to really go from here for Hollywood Brown, and I highly anticipate it, going and trending in a lot more positive.
Can't get any worse. I'm gonna tell you, outside of not playing, it can't get any worse right now.
But like this was, as I said, this is a conversation, that the author, the reporter, Bob McManaman, he talked to Hollywood Brown 2 weeks ago. It's to your point, like probably poor timing, because it's almost like if somebody from Kansas City had a good write-up on how Marquez Valdez-Scantling is one of Patrick Mahomes' most reliable receiver, and then they schedule it to print on Tuesday morning after he dropped the big go-ahead touchdown. Like that's what it is.
On Zach Wilson 2 weeks ago after he won 13-10, and now he's benched subsequently. For Fire Gut driving that damn bus, which remains the best Avatar title on here. It was the 50-50 ball last week that went for an INT that did it for me. And like, here's what I'll say about that. Is it 100% his fault? Probably not. No. Do you want a receiver that can actually have the physical tools to go up and at least try to, if not catch the ball, break it up? Like how many times did Fitz break up interceptions from John Skelton and Kevin Cobb and company? He did it all the time. Max Hall. Like, and again, I'm not saying you have to be Larry Fitzgerald, but we've seen this offense needs big physical receivers. This is not unless you're playing big like Greg Dortch and you want more targets, and we've beaten that horse. It's like if you're an outside receiver in this offense in the year of our football lords 2024 next year, you need to be over 6 feet. That's a non-negotiable. I'm sorry, with what they want to do. This is not Mountain West, Big 12, spread them out football where, we can kind of run and gun and do what we want to do. And you got me covering you at, Panera Bread State or whatever. This is the NFL. Have you seen the corners for Seattle? They're huge. Like Hollywood Brown, he's having trouble getting open. Like, he is open. We're missing him. Dobbs is missing him. Kyler missed him once upon a time. Most of the time, though, I mean, like, if Trey McBride's getting these targets and Michael Wilson, it's because Hollywood's not open. He's probably the first option on a lot of these reads. And so they're going through their progressions, and he's not there. So at the end of the day, you have to add, and we're going to go through the cap casualties potentially at the end of the show. We've got a graphic made up. If you're Ossenford and company, are you tying yourself to these guys that, I'm sorry, are not producing to the level it's going to warrant to pay them? Are you going to tie yourself to these guys, or are you going to take your $80 million and your 13 draft picks and carve out your niche? Because you have to turn around and look at Michael Bidwell. If you give Hollywood Brown $17 million and Michael Bidwell's like, well, what's happening here? Those are real conversations. Or you can say, I'm paying X receiver no money, and he's getting 1,000 yards for us, Michael. Give me an extension. It's at the end. It's the conversation we've had about Kyler Murray for 6 months. They have to be sure that he's their guy, and I think that they are, to commit $52 million, et cetera. That's compounded, I think, much more difficult because of the fact that the money's guaranteed. Like, that they have a decision there. Hollywood Brown's a free agent. He's an outright free agent. They literally have to do nothing if they don't want to, and it doesn't affect them at all outside of maybe getting a comp pick for him. I'm not going to call it right now and say he's not going to be back, but if you ask me today where I'm leaning toward he's not returning next year.
You guys are crushing in the chat. Give yourself a like on this video just for how you're crushing it. I think people said I'm as reliable trying to catch passes right now from Kyler Murray as Hollywood Brown is, as I unfortunately couldn't come up with my one opportunity while I had my cell phone to my ear. I'll maintain that. I was not in a good position to make a play on that ball. Picking spreads, obviously a very knowledgeable, loyal viewer, listener. We appreciate you picking spreads. Brown has slot experience at college. He did play somewhat an amount last year in Cliff's offense. Hollywood is 100% a play in the slot. And like that's where I think a guy like Christian Kirk was able to thrive, right? And could he go elsewhere where the team has a luxury that's a little further down the line and is just looking to really bolster their wide receiver core and could put a guy like Hollywood Brown in the slot? Absolutely. And picking spreads pointing out like the trio of Michael Wilson and Marvin Harrison Jr. and Hollywood Brown. That's a very appealing wide receiver trio. Absolutely. But at what price? And when you look at this roster, it's like the risk reward, the weighing of the options. Is it worth the price? Like the Shaq Leonard discussion we had yesterday. Like, would Shaq Leonard today immediately give the Cardinals, would it make them a better roster than they were tomorrow? Yes, but at $6.1 million that you've been, trying to save and roll over from 2023 to 2024 in the offseason, like Monty Osborne's just not going to do it. It doesn't make sense financially, cap-wise, for this organization. So they're going to have to find a number that makes sense. So if Hollywood Brown is going to be your primary slot receiver, which is a big role, but it's not wide receiver one. It's not the X receiver that this offense kind of thrives through. Then it's not worth breaking the bank over relative to the salary cap.
Picking spreads, saying having a burner to a team adds value no matter the scheme. Is Hollywood Brown a burner? Because I would beg to differ. Like the last 3 years, he's been about 11 yards per catch. That's who he is in the NFL. He had 1 year in Baltimore. He was at like 13.7. I mean, like, I think he was a burner at times in Baltimore and certainly at Oklahoma. But in the NFL, like, I get it. They've missed him a couple times, but for the most part, like, think about this. Michael Wilson, who's played less time, who's a rookie, has almost 5 yards more per catch than Hollywood Brown. Is Michael Wilson a burner? Hollywood Brown's averaging about 10 yards per catch. Michael Wilson's at 15.5 with about half the targets as a rookie receiver. I mean, like, and he's cheap. If I'm Monty Osborne, I'm just like, I'll just go do that again. Like, if I can get a receiver in the first round, the more we do homework on this class, and we've got a draft video dropping tomorrow, it is an elite receiver class, elite. And the Cardinals have 2 first-round picks at the position, right? And the Cardinals have shown you now we can add receivers in the middle rounds to supplement. Like, I don't think that they have a ton of patience and willingness to give out big money deals. At the end of the day, if he comes to them and says, I want to be on the team, what can we do to make that happen? I think that they can come to an agreement on a 1 to 2 year deal max, 1 year deal with all the guarantees, and then maybe a team option for year 2. Right. But like, they're not, I hate to say this because I like the person and I like the player. Like, they're not beholden to Hollywood. Like, I don't know what negotiation power he has. The Cardinals have all the power. They have all the money. They have all the draft picks. They've got the cachet, the rookie class hit. Only Steve Keim would be put over a barrel because everybody knew he couldn't draft well. So it's like, I got to overpay guys in free agency. I have to beg on my knees Rodney Hudson on one leg to come out of retirement. That's what Steve Keim had to do. They're not doing that anymore. This isn't awesome for, I mean, it's not a problem, but it's not his problem.
Right. They've got 3 wide receivers that are under control beyond this season. It's Wilson, it's Zach Pascal, and it's Rondell Moore. So, there is going to be a bit of a facelift to that position in 2023 to 2024. And, it's going to come down to can they find somewhere in the middle? Now, what can Hollywood Brown do between now and then to change this narrative, to change this perception of him, to really start to regain some of his value that I think he had at some point this season? I mean, we were talking about it leading up to the trade deadline with the value, talking about some of the same things that Pick and Spreads is talking about. But since then, like not just, not a sample size of performance. I mean, we're talking about like 5-6 games where there just hasn't been production from Hollywood Brown.
He played well. I think it was against the Cowboys. And I said, tongue in cheek on Twitter, just go ahead and extend him now. He was on pace for about 12 to 1,300 yards receiving to start this year. And then for whatever reason, as the offense kind of plateaued, he plateaued with it. And maybe naively, I thought, well, he'll help carry this team until Kyler Murray comes back and supplement some of the load. Think back to like the Seattle game when this team was inept offensively. Those games, the Houston game last weekend, winnable games when your defense, think about that. Jonathan Gannon's makeshift defense holds Houston to 21 points on the road and Seattle to 20 points on the road, gets a bunch of turnovers, won the turnover battle in Seattle 3-0, and they lost. If I'm Monty Ossenford, I'm sitting back and saying, I don't give a fuck who's playing quarterback. Where were my playmakers? Where were the guys I was paying a premium in these games to help us get us over the goal line one more time and we win these games? Like, I'm sorry, I'm not rewarding with big money deals for what you're going to say you're going to do. Chandler Jones would get 16 sacks this season. You pay Chandler Jones. That was obvious. DeAndre Hopkins, the first year he was here, I don't know, 1,400 yards. He and Kyler Murray were fantastic. Hail Murray, here's a new contract. That's how it works. It doesn't work well. First round pick, the guy who was here before me that everybody hated traded a one for you, so I have to honor that. No, it's like you want to be part of the team. Kazir White wanted to be part of this team and play for Jonathan Gannon. Did Kazir White break the bank? And that's Jonathan Gannon's boy. I mean, like, I'm sorry. I get that everybody loves him. I love him as a person. This isn't monopoly money. This is a team that isn't winning right now with him as their number one receiver. And we're going to $15, $17 million. I just don't think he's a good fit for this offense. Can I say that? Like, I think he would be a better fit in an offense where you can be undersized and the offense isn't so predicated on the intermediate passing game. You could take a deep shot. But to me, it's just, I just don't see it. I don't see him back.
I haven't seen the slot emphasized as much as it's been around the league. Obviously, it's a position that's been big the last decade or so, and it became trendy, obviously, with Brady really utilizing his slot receivers and Peyton Manning and big time. There's been big time connections throughout the NFL. I mean, even Fitz he had a career resurgence when he switched to the slot. But I haven't seen it so far in the first 11 games of the Arizona Cardinals offense. I'm seeing guys like Michael Wilson and Hollywood Brown, when he's split out wide, make more plays. And then if it is in the middle of the field, and sometimes not in the middle of the field, the tight end get lean on more so than a slot. Like Rondell Moore playing the slot hasn't been a big fixture in this passing game so far. Let's take a look at one of these super chats, and we'll get to also what Kyler Murray had to say about his connection with Hollywood Brown. He maintains he's confident in his buddy Marquise. Here's what Pick and Spreads had to say. If we are in a position to take MHJ, Marvin Harrison Jr., and we'll know before we have to even pay Hollywood, have MHJ, HW, Hollywood, I think.
Yeah.
Is that Hollywood? Yeah.
Hollywood and Wilson.
And Wilson pay 3 years until you have to pay Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'll push back and say, take that money and give it to a defensive lineman or a left guard.
Yeah, look at the rest of this roster. I mean, this is not just a wide receiver core away. I mean, it certainly helps things, but you're still rebuilding your trenches. You still, I think you need to address the interior of the offensive line at the left guard spot. We'll see what they decide to do with DJ Humphries. You'll see what they decide to do at the running back position. Do they free up some money and stuff we'll talk about a little bit later? But primarily on the defensive side, probably another off-ball linebacker to couple with Kazir White. Got to get a corner. Those aren't cheap. And you've got to probably add and supplement your pass rush and the interior defensive line. So that's a lot of money you have to spend.
This offense is going to be run complementary at some point again. There's just not enough targets to go around to justify that. And Bo mentioned, like, they're not prioritizing the slot. Who's getting the slot targets? The tight ends. You saw it last week. It's a tight end slot underneath system, along with now with the return of James Conner, Michael Carter. Like, they're going to throw to their running backs. I think there's only room for 2 wide receivers to eat in this offense. Tucker in the chat, $1.99 super chat. What are your thoughts on Rome Odunze for if no Marvin Harrison Jr.? I love him. I think there are 4 to 5 first-round wide receivers, depending on where they're picking. I think he's a guy who's going to have a good offseason. He's fantastic. I'm anxious to watch him in the Pac-12 title game, potentially in the Final Four for Washington. The kid out of LSU has been fantastic. And then obviously the two biggies in Keon Coleman, Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, I think that they're gonna take a first round wide receiver. If you ask me today,
wow,
I think they would go first round wide receiver before they would pay an older player in free agency. That's not to say like they couldn't go out and like add a receiver on a minimal deal, but like let's just say this. I'm not a huge DJ Humphries fan, but I think they would prioritize bringing Humphries back and paying him the money necessary over Hollywood Brown, given the fact that let's say they're picking second or third and they've got Marvin right there for them, and you're not sure if you're going to get a tackle. Okay, we better bring DJ Humphries back. Like it's going to be very touch and go, but the interesting facet of this whole thing is what's the two strongest positions in this draft? Offensive tackle, wide receiver, at least where the Cardinals are going to be picking. And they have two huge decisions as it relates to two older players on the roster, two very popular players on the roster at those two positions, Bo.
Yeah, I disagree with like that they're very likely to take a wide receiver. I think that there's one wide receiver that if they're in a position to take him, you take him, right? If Marvin Harrison Jr. And then after that, and the kid from Washington that we're talking about, he doesn't look very fast. Like he obviously has the ability to create separation.
I mean, they're 31st in passing offense. Are you putting that all on Kyler Murray not being here?
What's that?
They're 31st in passing offense. Are you?
Well, yeah, they've
that all on Kyler Murray?
Kyler even said himself today, like what he really wants to help and remedy this offense with is adding explosives in the pass game, where they've fallen tremendously short outside of a few here and there, sprinkled in from Joshua Dobbs during his tenure, but mostly the explosives came in the run game. As far as the player from Washington, I don't know if I think
he's averaging 18. He's averaging 18.3 yards per catch this year
against Pac-12 defenses. Like it's easy to get open. I think he's talented. Sure. Like I'm not utilizing one of the firsts on that. I think that there's more pressing. Yes.
You're okay. So if they're picking like 19, 20 and this kid's available, you're not, and he's a first round talent, you're not considering that? Bo Brack? What?
Well, the jury's still out on that. Like obviously he's performing and playing at a high level for the Huskies and making Michael Penix Jr. look really good, right? But I still don't know. Like, does he have the speed that you need from a top end receiver? Like if you're going to draft a wide receiver in the first round, like no more playing games. He's got to be a wide receiver one. Is he going to be a wide receiver one? Is he projected to be a top wide receiver?
I think there are 4 to 5 first round receivers that all project to be wide receiver ones if they go to the right situation. You've Kyler Murray and Michael Wilson to be able to complement whomever they draft. I don't think we should put ourselves in a category of if it's not Marvin Harrison Jr., we're just going to ignore the position in the first round. I mean, he has told us, Austin Ford, they prioritize receiver as a cornerstone position. And look at his receiving core now. It is underperforming. And they have so many picks. Like, I get it. If you want to go
picks in the first 3 rounds, like you could utilize the second round pick. You can utilize one of your 3/3.
I think it's unfair to ask. Like Michael Wilson was very much a victim of circumstances, and he earned it. He earned a starting job. He was tremendous in training camp. We were there, and I also think like the Cardinals wanted him to win that job next year with playoff implications, aspirations, which there will be. I think it's a lot to say, well, we have a third rounder that could potentially start for us. Maybe that happens again, but I don't know about that. So maybe you're right. Maybe they'll couple Hollywood on a 2-year, $18 million deal, and then they'll go out and draft a middle round receiver. I wouldn't have a problem with that either. I think at the end of the day, it's a gamble whether you pay Hollywood Brown big money, you take a receiver not named Marvin in the first round. These are all going to be very, very critical decisions that Austin Ford's going to have to make. Their preference, though, I'm sure is Hollywood Brown, go out and perform for the next 6 weeks, and we will pay you. We will have seen the proof. But the proof is in the pudding, and I haven't seen it yet. I'm starving over here. I'd love some pudding.
Yeah. You want me to eat some crow here? I just looked up Rome Udunzi's. It says this offseason he ran a 4.340.
Listen, I'm not going to call you out on there. I may have known that, but I wouldn't do that.
I'll take my crow with a little Thanksgiving.
All of these receivers,
gravy on that.
Real quick. All of these first-round receivers, they all fit what the Cardinals need. They're big and fast. There isn't a Tavon Austin. These aren't undersized little receivers. These are big boys. Bring him home.
6'3", 216. Pretty impressive. I apologize to to
Cheers to you, my friend.
to the Rome stands out there. But
Rome is burning.
it's great. Rack that guy. It's a good conversation about Hollywood Brown, though. I mean, it continues the theme with the offense. Let's hear from Kyler Murray as far as Hollywood Brown. What he's not too concerned. He remains confident, obviously, for one particular reason.
I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you want to get your best players the ball, you know, and then when that happens, usually you'll have success. Past 2 weeks, you know, it's been tough. We missed the first week a couple times. Last week just didn't connect like we would have liked to. But like I said, we've done it before. You know, there's no stress or pressing about it. Obviously, he wants the ball. I feel sense of urgency to give him the ball. We all do. But at the end of the day, quarterback, you can't force the ball. You got to go where the defense takes you.
So there, we've done it before, and that's one thing that you kind of have to remember is like, as you've been freaking out the last couple of days about the lack of under center looks, and I'll kind of preach patience as far as Kyler Murray and his maturation in this offense. Like, he's not going to come back and immediately develop this rapport with Trey McBride and Hollywood Brown and Rondell Moore and getting Greg Dortch reincorporated and get back in keeping up with the explosives in the run game. Like, it's going to be a process, and you hope that the next thing that he checks off as far as one of the boxes is getting back on track with Hollywood Brown. And that should be one of the ones, like, if you're a Cardinals fan, like, because of how they played early last year, that it's something that it feels like it could be inevitable.
Can I say something that's probably going to be unpopular? I think we're overrating his fast start from last year. Like, I looked up the numbers. He's played 23 games with the Cardinals as a member of this franchise, albeit I would say probably only a third of those games with Kyler Murray, maybe half. He's got one 100-yard game in 23 games. You know how many multi-touchdown games he's got? 0. So, like, I think I'm a victim of this too. Like, I'm guilty of this as well. I'm like, oh yeah, Hollywood's going to go off this weekend. I mean, we're rooting for something that's happened one time, and it was in a loss where the Cardinals scored 12 points against the LA Rams last year. They lost 20-12. That was the one game where he went off for 140 yards. He has not eclipsed 100 yards in his entire Cardinal career outside of that. So I don't know, man. Maybe
pretty
this
damning.
is it.
I mean, yeah, he came close earlier this season. I think he had 91 in a game.
Here's what I'll say about Christian Kirk. The Cardinals botched that. He was always supposed to be a slot receiver. He was making no money. And then he showed in that last season he could at least be a 1,000-yard receiver. The Jaguars, like some teams this offseason, Bo, will have dumb money to spend. I've used the example with Carolina. Carolina, because they have no picks, but they have money because they're not paying Bryce Young, will have money to spend on a player like Hollywood Brown because they traded away DJ Moore. They can go and overpay for somebody like that. You think the Cardinals paying Kyler Murray $52 million with a bunch of other holes are going to go and do that? No. And if I'm Hollywood Brown's agent, I'm like, we're not taking this 1 to 2 year deal from the Cardinals for pennies on the dollar.
Right.
Like, we're just having a big boy conversation about this. I believe Hollywood Brown will get offers of much more substantial guaranteed amounts from other teams. And I don't think the Cardinals are going to rush to match that because of what we just outlined.
I mean, he could go to Kansas City. If he's not going to make a ton of money, he could go be the top receiver in the Chiefs offense.
I mean, but they're pinching pennies too. I mean, like,
I know, but if we're talking about, a win-win for both sides, and Hollywood Brown's, taking a prove-it deal, why not go take a prove-it deal with an AFC contender like Kansas City?
Why not
go play opposite Amon-Ra in Detroit?
See, I think if he's taking less money, it will be to play with his best friend on a place that he likes.
I don't know if he's gonna. I don't think that's gonna. As far as that's not gonna play a big role in his free agency.
I agree, and I don't think he's gonna take less money anywhere. I wouldn't. I'm 27 years old. These are my peak years. I think he's gonna go to the team that pays him the most money.
Yeah,
he should. Every player should do that. I mean, it's not. And what he's doing is very smart because he's a smart person. I want to be here. The Cardinals, we like each other. We have a great relationship. So then what happens? If Cardinals don't pay him, well, whose fault is that? That's the franchise's fault. And then people will get upset. People are like, why didn't we sign Hollywood Brown? He wanted to be here. It's called playing the game. It's playing the game. He's smart. He knows how to play the game. It's not Will Anderson Jr. shitting on the Cardinals and, talking about I'm happy with where I'm at, but he's playing the game with his folks in Houston.
What's he gonna say? What's he gonna say?
I know. But
that was
this
the Florio thing.
It was. He had to come out and try to find the W.
If you read that full quote, it comes off a lot more polite than it was clickbaited as from Florio.
Paris Johnson Jr. had a pretty good game, all things considered, against Will Anderson.
Well,
Jr.
your old co-host Blake Murphy, like to kind of pivot off of the Hollywood conversation, but Blake Murphy made the point, and we were hearing this as well, if they didn't trade down, they were probably taking Paris Johnson at third overall anyway.
Not probably. That was going to be the pick.
Yeah,
and people would have lost their minds. They didn't want him.
If you don't know what we're talking about, so Will Anderson Jr. talked to Pro Football Talk in a phone interview, and he was, did it add any extra incentive to beat a team that traded out and didn't select you third overall? And he said, I'm in the right place for me, and I'd rather be here in Houston than there in Arizona. And people have kind of cherry picked it and said, that's a shot against the Cardinals. I think he was just basically saying he loves the situation and he's in, and I don't blame him for that.
We were at Super Bowl last week, at the Combine, and we had two people in the know say the Cardinals are not taking Will Anderson Jr. They just weren't. They had made up their mind at that point.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Paris Johnson Jr. at 6 with a couple extra picks, including a first rounder. I think that's a pretty big win. I'm going to help you guys win with BetMGM, the bet 10, get 200. So we can do our BetMGM parlay of the week. I mean, tomorrow I feel pretty good. Anytime touchdown with CeeDee Lamb, maybe sprinkled in with a little Amon-Ra St. Brown. Anytime touchdown, I'm going big on receivers like I'm going big on turkey. Extra helpings, please, via my friends at BetMGM. It's like Christmas come early with the bonus bets, the opt-ins for boosters. As busy as I'm going to be at the dinner table with the fam, I'm going to be even busier on my BetMGM Sportsbook app. Again, $10, you're going to get $200 in additional winnings regardless of your wager's outcome. Super simple. Download the BetMGM Sportsbook app, iOS, Android, or I like to pull it up on my desktop, old school style. Get the big screen going. BetMGM.com. Sign up with bonus code PHNX. Again, $10 going to get you $200 in additional winnings regardless of your wager's outcome. You don't even have to win, and we're going to give you 200 bones with bonus bucks via BetMGM. Check out the show notes for full details. Now listen to my guy. He's coming back, Shane Diefenbach. Talk about it in the disclaimer.
Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 Massachusetts. 21 plus to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help Michigan. 1-800-981-0023 Puerto Rico in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in D.C., New York, or Ontario.
You said Diefenbach's, he's coming back. He's back. I saw him. I saw him in the flesh today. He's in the office today. He's getting a little bit of a break from his grueling schedule, making great work for our friends over at Athletes First. I highly recommend you check that out on all where you find him on socials. Getting into some great games. I think he was at the Dolphins game last week, Johnny. You don't have the Diefen key, the Diefen lock key unlocker. It's going to be Game Time. That's going to get you into some special events, whether it's stand-up comedy, one of your favorite bands is playing in town, or it's the next Cardinals game taking on the Rams. You didn't win tickets from us here at PHNX. Go to Game Time. You get $20 off your first purchase with the code PHNX. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use the code PHNX. Get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create that account. Redeem the code PHNX. Get $20 off. Suns games, Coyotes games, Cardinals games, concerts, stand-up comedy. It's all there for you with Game Time, and you can procrastinate. You could be at the bar before your event begins without tickets and still no sweat at all. Just buy them on the Game Time app. Use that promo code PHNX. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Super chat from Pickin' Spreads. $4.99. Thank you so much. One of our favorites, Pickin' Spreads. Rome, Keon, Malik are all great. I agree, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is different. I agree with that. He's the second best prospect I've ever watched behind Myles Garrett. I started doing this in 2016. I think he's the best player in the draft, but he's not going to go first overall, given that the two quarterbacks I think will go 1-2. Maybe not. Maybe he'll go second overall. He's not. I think Caleb's still destined to go number 1. But you're right. Like, he's the best player in the draft. But again, let's not poo-poo these other receivers and say, well, they're not worthy of a first-round pick. I remember once upon a time, Justin Jefferson fell to the 20s. CeeDee Lamb was like the 4th receiver taken in the late teens. Like, just because you don't have a plug-and-play Marvin Harrison Jr. that you can sport in 2024 doesn't mean these other guys shouldn't be considered. Bo, I know when we're at the Combine, the offensive line is going to take priority, but receiver is going to be right there for this franchise because Michael Wilson right now, I think, and I don't want to go too deep into this, he's not healthy. Like, I don't know if he's going to play this weekend. I hope so. I don't know if you can share more if he was on the practice field, but you've got a guy that had, he wasn't. You've got a guy that had injury concerns at the collegiate level, and then you've got a default number 1 receiver that can't get over 700 yards a season. Like, I would say that's a pretty big red flag for let's go get a blue chipper. And if they deem one of these other receivers a perfect fit for their offense and Kyler Murray, and I think that a lot of guys fit what they want, big and physical and fast, it would be easy to say, let's do it. Let's add a playmaker.
But I'm still not prioritizing it. As impressive as this class is, even beyond Marvin Harrison Jr., over edge, cornerback, tackle. Like, those all take precedent over wide receiver. Those are legit premium positions. And we've seen that if you prioritize that early on, so far through the first, draft under Monty Ossenfort, that you can get immediately rewarded by that, by going up, getting a tackle in Paris Johnson Jr. and what it's done and how it's transformed this offensive line. It was a liability in the past. It was just old patchwork vets that were, at the end of their careers. Instead, you get some new life in there that's blue chip talent. And then you get BJ Ujulari, an SEC ass kicker, and we're starting to see that pay off. 4 sacks near the top of the rookie class after a slow start. Garrett Williams playing sticky in the slot and being really, really impressive. I think Kyle Odegaard said he was targeted 5 times, or he only gave up 5 yards last game. Like, Garrett Williams has been very impressive. Those are 3 premium positions. And let's just think about if you double that, if you double down on that in this upcoming draft, instead of, trying to just get some playmaking where I think that they can find playmaking, just not utilizing a first round pick doing so.
Well, I would push back and say, well, your philosophy you just described, I've seen them already do it on the defensive side. I know they can find pass rushers in the middle rounds. Listen to me for a second. I know they can find a Garrett Williams in the 3rd round, right? And again, I'm not saying overdraft a receiver if you've got an edge rusher 10 spots higher, but I think, like, I would put receiver right there with corner and edge rusher. I think by and large they would prefer to prioritize an OT, an offensive tackle, and a defensive lineman, like a 3 to 5 technique. Those are the 2 positions I feel like, notwithstanding Marvin Harrison Jr., that's where they would love. They love the line of scrimmage play. They want to dominate the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
If we're moving away from the football and we're moving outside, I would put receiver right up there with corner. I mean, like, think about how bad the cornerback position has been. And they're still they held somebody to 20. They held one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL to 20 points over the weekend. Why didn't they win that game? They couldn't fucking get the ball in the end zone. They couldn't score points. They don't have receivers right now that can separate. I think it's difficult. And I'm with you on this. It sickens me to my core that I watch Steve Keim burn draft pick after draft pick on small receivers that haven't transpired into production for this team. But does that mean, like, we're going to ignore the position now? I don't think so.
No, I'm not saying ignore.
They lost the Hollywood Brown trade. The Andy Isabella 2nd rounder disaster. Rondell Moore's 2nd rounder didn't work out. Hakeem Butler in the 4th round didn't work out. Christian Kirk left after being a 2nd round pick. DeAndre Hopkins, they traded a 2-4. He had 1 productive season. That's 5 premium picks that Keim used on receivers. None of it has been impactful outside of 1 year of DeAndre Hopkins. But that doesn't mean that you ignore a 1st round receiver if you think he can help you. They have holes at those positions. They have holes at receiver right now that cannot be.
They have holes everywhere, Johnny. And look, thank you for identifying who hurt me. That's the answer to the question. Steve Keim. He hurt me. And when you gather together with your family and friends tomorrow and you go around the table and you say, here's what you should be thankful for. Here's what I'm thankful for. It's that Steve Keim no longer is making decisions for the Arizona Cardinals. That's ultimately the biggest thing I'm thankful for in 2023 and going into 2024. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But, if Monty Ossenfort is taking that 21st overall selection from the Houston Texans, hopefully it gets back into the teens. But if it's staring down a wide receiver, or, maybe if you didn't get a tackle up front, with your top pick, look at the tackle class, right? And get a premium spot there. Jared Verse from Florida State still there. The pass rusher from UCLA. I think I'd much rather have one of those players than a wide receiver.
Got to score points, man. I'm with you though. They can change this narrative. Where your point is valid is if Hollywood Brown produces these next 6 weeks, then I can feel really good about that. What if Hollywood Brown consistently has 30 yards per game, and you're going into an off season? That's what he's averaged this year. You're laughing at it.
Isn't that an easy decision though? I mean, but
there will be people that will say you still need to bring him back. You need to pay him, because you have nobody.
You do have to have a plan, and I'll never, I don't think Monty's he'll never not be prepared for anything, right? With beyond this season, only having Rondell, Zach Pascal, and Michael Wilson as your right, you do have to have a plan to revamp that room, no doubt about it.
Monty Ossenfort was in the room, literally and figuratively, when his former boss in Tennessee traded away AJ Brown for a first-round pick, and that got him fired. And he's seen the impact of a true number one receiver and what it can do and what it can't do. Tennessee's been trying to replace AJ Brown for the last 2 years with Treylon Burks and DeAndre Hopkins. How's that worked out? So I think he prioritizes it because he's seen firsthand in New England what's happened to Bill Belichick, because he hasn't prioritized that position, and subsequently in Tennessee. We're going to talk about the Cardinals and some cap implications this offseason. But first, I want to tell you about our partnership with Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the official credit union of the Arizona Cardinals. For more than 84 years, Desert Financial has been Arizona's largest, most trusted local credit union, dedicating to creating exceptional experiences by giving back to the community and providing financial solutions that make lives better. And the best part about it, if you're an Arizona Cardinal fan, there's no better place to do your banking than with Desert Financial Credit Union. It's the only place you can show your team spirit every single time. Make a purchase with exclusive debit cards branded with your favorite teams. They've got checking, savings accounts, mortgages, loans, credit cards, investment options, and more. Show your team spirit, baby, and open a free checking account online. I opened mine about 6 months ago. I thought this is going to take forever. It took like 10 minutes. I had my debit card in a matter of days through the mail. It is a secure process, a trusted partner of the Cardinals, now a trusted and proud partner of PHNX, Desert Financial Credit Union. Check them out, desertfinancial.com/Cardinals.
This might not be the most creative gift idea. It happens all the time. I know I've received Arizona lottery tickets before for a gift, but it is by far, don't discount it at all, the most fun gift you can receive. And I'm going to go full Oprah on my entire family that's a gambling age, and everybody gets an Arizona lottery ticket scratch off from me this holiday season. It's absolutely happening. It's like, oh, you open up your guess. Well, guess what? You probably already know what it is. It's a lottery ticket from our friends over at Arizona Lottery. It's the holiday scratchers. Holiday scratchers from Arizona Lottery make last minute shopping easy. You don't even have to make the last minute. Just buy them now. Just go and they're going to make the perfect gift. There's a scratcher for everyone on your list. Scratchers, they're just $1. And you can win top prizes up to $500,000. Go out and buy your holiday scratchers today. You probably have a better chance of hitting on a scratcher than Steve Keim did on hitting on a wide receiver in the NFL draft. Check it out now. Arizona Lottery, holiday scratchers. It is a gift that keeps on giving.
I don't know if this is a good omen. The mock draft we did earlier this week, we took a defensive tackle out of Oregon by the name of Brandon Dorlus. Big number 3. He leads all Pac-12 defensive tackles and pressures this year with 39.
Is that good?
You talk about that group in Oregon historically, that defensive line group. I know it's with different coaches, has produced a lot of NFL talent. And that's what I look at. man, and what's your track record at the position? Cardinals are going to have to make some decisions.
Think about this real quick to that point.
Yeah.
About all the talent that Georgia's produced, especially on the defensive line.
Yeah.
Where did Oregon head coach Dan Lanning? He was at Georgia developing those players before they really popped. He was the DC there down in Athens from I think like 2019 to 2021. Like he can,
great point.
He can develop guys.
There's going to be opportunities for the Cardinals to get better up front in the draft or in free agency. It's going to be interesting, I should say, to see what they opt to do. And a lot of it's going to be based on dollars and cents. And we've been talking about Hollywood Brown. He's not the only one. Let's bring up the 2024 cap standings, cap commitments as it relates to this team. This is via overthecap.com. I had to take a good old-fashioned screen capture today because the website was a little bit finicky, but they do great stuff. It's probably my old Mac computer that I'm trying to operate on today. These are the cap contracts.
I think it was the original Mac. Is that the first one Steve Jobs and crew produced?
No, I got one of those big ones with the blue back, where you can see the insides. This is 2024. So, again, look at the cap number as it relates to this team. And, I mean, the big number is obviously Kyler Murray, almost $52 million. You've got DJ Humphries, $22 million, Budda Baker, $18 million, Zach Ertz, $12.5 million. This team's already going to have $65-70 million available with the rollover in cap that they have now. You could get to $80 to $90 million pretty fast, Bo.
Very easily. Like if you look at DJ Humphries' number, you save about what you just compare the cap savings to the dead money. His cap number is going to be 22, and you absorb some dead, but you get $9 million in cap savings. There's close to 10, and then the next two numbers under that, Zach Ertz 7.5, and then James Conner about 5.5. I mean, that right there is just under $20 million in cap savings that you can get immediately on top of what you have here, $60 million in cap space already. I mean, that easy, like three guys, James Conner is going to be 29. The other two guys are going to be in their 30s. That you're going to want to get younger at the position and utilize, all that draft capital on. And it's going to put you in a position to also start revamping this defense and helping like we said, probably add a wide receiver through free agency on top of adding one in the draft.
So I'll do you one better. So this is pre-June 1st. If they cut him, if they designate DJ Humphries as a post-June 1st cut, assuming that, you probably keep him on the roster until you know what you do in the NFL draft, they can save $16 million if he's a post-June 1st cut. What about Zach Ertz? If they cut him post-June 1st, dead money, $2.5 million, cap savings over $10 million. So you think about between Humphries and Ertz alone in cap savings, $26 million between those two guys. And again, like I'm not knocking those guys for what they've done to this franchise, but like Trey McBride is the tight end one going into next year. I just don't know what he has to offer this team next year, respectfully. I think if he's going to play, it's going to probably be elsewhere. Budda Baker, I'm told kind of behind the scenes, like they could revisit his contract, extend him. I think they love what he brings to the table. Obviously, he's the nominee for which award, Bo, that was outlined today, the team's award.
Yeah, the Art Rooney.
Yeah. So, I mean, they want Budda around. They want Kyler Murray around, but Ertz, Humphries, and maybe James Conner, although Conner is the one where I think that you could rework that contract and make it beneficial for the Cardinals. And I don't want to say for both sides. Maybe you can kick Conner a little bit more guaranteed money. But the two big boys are the two veteran offensive linemen in Humphries and Ertz, that the cap number right now. So I'm going to tell you right now, the cap number for the Arizona Cardinals heading into free agency this offseason is $64 million. $64 million. And I think that's with the rollover, what they have now. If you cut DJ Humphries and you cut Zach Ertz post June 1st, that goes up to $91 million for this team. I mean, if you go through over the cap,
spend that.
Yeah, you can't. And that's what I mean. Look, let's pull this up.
About like there's no extensions, big money extensions that you're going to be negotiating this offseason. Like Zaven Collins, we'll see what they decide on him as far as picking up his fifth-year option. With the position change, I think it really helps his chances, but still maybe a coin flip at this point. Like, you're not negotiating an extension with him right now, right? So we're like, who's getting an
Pick up
extension?
his 5th-year option? Would you say that he's trending toward having his 5th-year option picked up?
I mean, he's a better shot now than when he was an off-ball linebacker to make $12 million on that.
So Zaven Collins right now, I mean, we're talking about B.J. Ojulari because you see the explosiveness as a pass rusher. He's got 3.5 sacks this year in 11 games.
I mean, he's going to have to show more this season, but to get that much, I guess if he can get upwards of 6.5, 7 sacks, I think that they really seriously consider it, especially when you take into account that he just started playing this position and he was able to, if you can pick up, especially at a premium position, as edge and pass rusher go, you could get that at nearly a discount rate for $12 million a season, based on projecting what he's going to be in 2 seasons from now.
And I think also, to your point, you don't want to be standing around with a Hassan Reddick situation. What if Zaven Collins has 12 sacks next year? I mean, it's a good problem to have.
Well, he could also turn into, a Jordan Love, and I know the quarterback position is different, but where the Packers declined his 5th and then renegotiated, a multi-year extension that made sense for both sides.
Brian saying Collins, I think, is safe right now. He's flash. You can attest to this, Bo. They love Zaven Collins, like Jonathan Gannon.
He's done everything that they've asked for, and like, I don't know if I said that enough for the Hollywood conversation. Like, the players in the club, in the locker room now, like, they are people that have responded to this coaching staff, to this new culture, the front office, and they're doing everything within their power to stay with this organization and move forward with this team.
Yeah. Well, I think a true testament of that, and I didn't get to give him his flowers enough earlier this week, and he didn't play great, but he played good enough. DJ Humphries, I thought, was going to be out. You and I both thought he was going on injured reserve. You reported he had a boot on his foot.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's it for DJ Humphries this year. And he missed 1 game. And he came back, and I thought he played decent. His PFF numbers were good. Like, I look at that statistic right now that we just pulled up. Let's see that graph one more time if we could. DJ Humphries is going to be on this team in this offseason. And if the chips fall where they may and they can't get a tackle high, I mean, you probably have to be pretty tempted to run it back with him. And again, we got 6 games left, and you always remember the final month and a half of the season because it's what that you left a good or bad taste in your mouth. I think the 2 individuals that have the most to gain or lose in the last 6 weeks are going to be DJ Humphries and Hollywood Brown on this entire, because I look at the rest of this, look at the players that are contributing to the Cardinals right now. They're barely on this list. Like B.J. Ojulari next year is making under $2 million. We're going to be projecting him to have double-digit sacks. Michael Wilson could be a 1,000-yard receiver next year, making $1.2 million. Right? I mean, it's a testament to Monty Ossenford. Like, I love Dennis Gardeck, and I think he's had a great year. But like, he's in the top 10 of your salaries on the team, making $3.4 million. That's a joke. Yelda Froholt making $2.7 million. That's a huge steal for the Cardinals. Trey McBride, $1.7 million. I mean, I don't love the idea of splurging on Hollywood Brown, but I'm sure like they could do it. No one's saying that they can't do it, but is it smart to do? Does it set a good precedent to do? You have to be 100% convinced that he has been a victim of circumstance. Like you just reported, he's been a good soldier in the locker room. They love having him around. I don't see a middle ground where like everybody can be happy. I just don't. Like I think that 700 yards is 700 yards. It's just a reality. That's almost like Zach Pascal numbers, where they're paying Zach Pascal the vet minimum. I mean, you might have to just go to Hollywood Brown and say, here's a 1-year deal for about 8 to 10 million with incentives.
Yeah. It looked like today in practice that they were ramping Zach Pascal to have a role this week, on the offense. And with Wilson potentially being out another week, Pascal was kind of the backup at that Z wide receiver spot, the other outside wide receiver spot. So makes sense. So looked like he was getting some extra reps out there, at least during the open portion of practice. But yeah, it's absolutely a position that they're going to need to be prepared. They got to have a bunch of different options. And Hollywood is in the conversation. And then also you have to look at who's going to be available in the free agent market. And then in this very talented draft class that we're going to talk about tomorrow. And I know that we're going to be talking about 3 wide receivers that project as high as a first-round pick tomorrow's draft show. So you don't have to go Thanksgiving without us.
I'll tell you where you can go with us if you want to, but you should feel confident about going there regardless, is our friends at Circle K. Because, I mean, if you're part of the inner circle, then welcome to the club, because I'm part of the inner circle, as is Bo Brock. You can join that inner circle today by downloading the Circle K app. New free membership program. Save 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. Save 3 cents per gallon every single day. Get every 6 free on a selection of Circle K products like pizza, coffee, ice cold fountain drinks, and more. Terms and conditions apply. At participating locations, visit CircleK.com for more details, Bo. It's America's thirst stop, and you absolutely love to see it.
You get that Polar Pop and wash down some of our Hero bread. If you procrastinated, if you didn't get anything to bring to your gathering for Thanksgiving, why not check out our friends over at Hero Bread? You can get it on Amazon. Maybe they can prime it to you just in time for you look like the hero walking into your feast and say, hey, I got you covered as far as some rolls. I got some, some real delicious stuff coming in here. The Hero seeded bread. It's delicious. You got the classic white. You got the Hero triple threat bundle where you can get some, I believe some naan in there. They got everything that you want, to take advantage of what you're throwing, maybe cheese and some deli meats on top of. Well, you're not going to put yourself in a compromising position to where nutrition-wise, you're just blowing everything up. You don't want to do that. Hero makes sliced breads, buns, tortillas available at hero.co and Amazon. It's delicious. It's flavorful. It's scrumptious. It's the perfect complement to your Thanksgiving feast and beyond. Throw some of that cold turkey on there the next day. Make a Thanksgiving turkey sandwich. Those always go hard. Do it with our friends over at Hero Bread. You got the low carb option to lift your lifestyle, your dietary constraints. You're not going to find it with our Hero Bread. Plus, it's got 5 to 10 grams of protein per serving. Check out hero.co. That's hero.co. Save 10% with the code PHNX at Hero Bread. That's hero.co.
We're saving you monies left and right. We mentioned at the top of the show, it needs no introduction. It's our PHNX Black Friday sale, up to 90% off. Spend $75, you get a $15 gift card. If you're a diehard, you're saving money left and right, and you absolutely love to see it. Some of my all-time favorite gear that I rep on and off our show, Bo, because you guys know I sleep in my PHNX clothes. Whatever, big deal. Want to fight about it? These are your favorite shirts, hats, whatever you want. It's on sale for the Black Friday sale. Some of the stuff's going to go quick. So refresh the page, have your browser up, have it up on your phone. It's gophnx.com. It's the merchandise locker. No better time. If you've been thinking, I want that shirt, I'm going to wait, I'm going to splurge on Black Friday. Hey, we're a couple days away from the sale of the year with PHNX. I need to cop a new hat because this one's a little bit dirty, but we're willing to get dirty with you guys on Black Friday for sure.
You can keep your hands clean though, and keep your bank account relatively full, and you're not going to break the bank as far as our PHNX Black Friday deal. I've already got my eye on a bunch, so you guys need to get in quick, or I'm going to be doing some cleanup work on the shelves as far as PHNXlocker.com. Already got my eye on the NL Rookie of the Year shirt. I got all, I'm going to obviously restock all my Cardinals gear. And you know what? Maybe I might buy you a new hat, Johnny. If you don't, I'm going to buy one because that thing's gross.
Hey, man, times are tough. They're tough for the Cardinals. Hopefully rebounding on Sunday against the LA Rams. We've got our big preview show on Friday. Regular time, 4:30 preview show. Can Kyler Murray overcome what I think has been his real kryptonite as a member of the Arizona Cardinals, the LA Rams, that I think he's only beaten one time? That was 2 years ago. How are they going to slow down Aaron Donald? Can they get this passing game going? Lot to break down on Friday's show. Will Michael Wilson play?
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not optimistic that that's going to happen. We're 24 hours away from Thanksgiving. We heard Kyler Murray. He's got one thing that he's got to have at his Thanksgiving on his Thanksgiving table. It's a condiment, Johnny. Are you shocked to find out Kyler Murray, big sriracha guy?
Let's hear it.
Probably watching football, eating.
You ever put the sriracha sauce on anything?
Everything.
Why do you have such a fascination?
I'm Korean. I don't know. My mom always, the hot sauce was always a thing. Always eating spicy stuff. I'm sure she had plenty of spicy food when I was in her belly. I don't know.
What about potatoes and gravy? Stuffing gravy?
No, I'm not putting sriracha on that, but yeah, it'll be sriracha.
You got anything? You got a personal sriracha? You got something you're slapping on everything?
Trader Joe's cranberry sauce for your boy. Yeah.
You're slathering that on everything? You're sicko. What's
I'll
wrong
bathe
with
in
you?
it.
You
I'll
should be
bathe in
cuffed,
that.
thrown
No.
away in jail.
I do what I want. It's my day tomorrow. It's nobody else's day. It's my day to watch.
Jonathan Gannon, also a big Thanksgiving guy. You rank it at the top of the holiday list?
It's up there for me. Christmas is always number one, but I mean, anything during pumpkin season kind of falls in that
You are
category. I would probably go
Pumpkin
Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween are my top three. I don't mess with the holidays in the spring and the summer because like those are I don't know. You need the holidays in the dead of winter, I feel like, to get people's spirits up, to get people hopeful. When the weather's beautiful, it's just like holidays sometimes are like throwaways. Valentine's Day, get that out of here.
Yeah.
Easter, come on.
You're not a
don't do
romantic
anything
at
for me.
all. Poor Mrs. Venerable.
I'm romantic with my stomach, and my stomach is gonna be taken care of tomorrow. Yeah, I do Trader Joe's cranberry sauce, a little bit of gravy. You know how I am with my corn casserole here at the Venerable household. That's what we do.
It's
What about you?
elite. I
What are you
mean,
going?
I'm glad to say that we're unchaining producer Damon Dog from the desk. He's going to get off tomorrow, at least for
Oh, wow.
Thanksgiving. Damon, you got any staples you're looking forward to tomorrow? What are you doing on Thanksgiving? What's your plate look like?
I'm excited. Obviously, just like big meat guy.
It's
all about the meat. It's all about the meat.
So, I mean, you're talking traditional Thanksgiving meats? You're talking turkey and ham?
Yeah, turkey ham
Okay.
probably. I like stuffing a lot. Stuffing's a solid one.
Which they call dressing in the South.
Is that true?
Yeah, I love a nice stuffing. It goes a long way. I do. I think when I think of Thanksgiving, I think like turkey is so far down the depth chart. Sure, it's like it'll make it on my plate, but it is not like it's a team that's not built around a quarterback. It's more like a well-built team. It's like the 49ers, right? It's where you've got a ton of the sides are going to play some big roles on this. And that's what I'm about. Mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole. I want something to everything. I'm getting a big piece of the spread. So I don't want to like bog it down with too much turkey.
Here's what I'd like to propose for us three gentlemen here on PHNX Cardinals. We each take a photo of our plate, our full plate. We're going to post it on PHNX Cardinals Manana tomorrow at the height of Thanksgiving. We're going to have the people vote who has the best plate. And we're not going to say
you're not going to be able to touch mine because we're going like non-traditional tomorrow. We got a brisket already.
It's not fair.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Let's see.
Your
Bo's
dirty
already declaring just like
turkey is not going to. It's not going to get.
Cocky asshole's already declaring himself the winner. We're all going to take a photo. We're just going to number them 1, 2, 3. You're not going to know whose is what. And then we're gonna take the pulse of the people, the fans.
That's right. Sports hero turkey it's the Cliff Kingsbury offense. It's bland.
Stop. I've got a nice Trader Joe turkey that's already pre-brined. It's ready to go for your boy. I have to do minimal work, just like I have to do minimal work for this show. It's just
where's the flavor? There's no like the Venerable household is not Flavor Town tomorrow. I can tell you that.
Yeah, we're too liquored up, man. You just can't taste it anyway. That's how we roll.
That's also another way to enjoy your Thanksgiving.
Everything tastes good when you've had some Prosecco starting at 9 a.m. That's how we roll. How do you roll? Well, you can roll with us tomorrow on our PHNX Cardinals draft show podcast. We got a new one dropping. Who are we talking about tomorrow, Bo?
Talking about a trio of wide receivers. One I don't think we can hide from. It's going to be Marvin Harrison Jr. He's with the Cardinals picking 2nd overall. We got to talk about the big player from Columbus, and then 2 other wide receivers on top of that. An elite pass rush player at the college ranks, and then we got one more, right? I'm trying to think of who our 5th because we've been releasing our Fab 5 You got a pass rusher. We got a trio of wide receivers. And, man, who was it?
We have 2 pass rushers.
Yeah, 2 pass rushers.
Kid from Penn State, kid from UCLA, and then
Chop.
Chop it down, baby. The podcast will debut tomorrow. What time, Bo Brock?
We'll debut at about 4, right after you get a good dose of tryptophan. You can just pass out watching the show. Just don't forget to hit a like. Just like first and then pass out watching the draft show. But as we, tomorrow I joke we're going to go around the table and say what we're thankful for. Couldn't be more thankful, more grateful for everybody that interacts, watches, talks to us on social media, this podcast. It's the time of year that we pay our respect to all of you. We give you all the flowers. You're why we do this. We're so fortunate enough to be a part of this community. Very thankful for each and every one of you that participate and hang out in the chat every day. You make this truly special for Johnny, myself, Damon, and of course, everybody here at PHNX and ALLCITY.
Well said. Bo Brock, like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your podcast. Please, let's get this to 200 likes here on a holiday. Enjoy time with family and friends. We'll be back tomorrow and on Friday. The content never stops with your boys. For Damon Dog, Bo Brock, I'm Johnny Venerable. Have a great Thanksgiving.
We all silly like the mayor.